interviewing. You know, that's what they doing. Stick around. It's about to get all roomy up in here. Remote Ruby starts now.
What is up, Andrew?
Chris, how's it going? I just got back from Popeyes. I'm in a pretty good mood.
The tires on your car are probably worn down quite a bit, I imagine.
I have to keep good tires on my car because of the way I drive. So
because of the Popeyes burnouts.
yeah, the Popeyes burnouts. I have to put upgraded fuel into it because of the how hard I drive it. Yeah, we're putting in the paces, dude. Putting them horses to work.
Yeah, entertaining the Popeyes crew. I think.
I mean, it entertains me.
You're doing public good, right there.
Yeah. I'm serving the public.
Yeah. Thank you for your service
with my degenerate driving. It's okay.
Oh man,
it's a little toasty here, dude. Summer arrived fully in force. So it's 10 a.m. right now. For context, for our U.S. listeners, it is 101 degrees. For everyone else, it is 38.
Yikes.
38 Celsius.
Well, I will tell you, I just pulled up the weather. It is currently 79 Fahrenheit, but high of 83.
Okay.
And we have an extreme heat watch.
Well, dude, I've had an extreme heat warning for the past week. Okay, but what's your humidity?
An extreme heat watch for 83 Fahrenheit. It feels amazing outside.
Y'all need to settle down over there.
I don't know. Our humidity is 62%. So last night we had a 5-minute extreme rain downfall, and then it was gone. And then it happened again, and then it was gone. And then another one came by, and actually Brooke said normally, because this is tornado season, normally we have an average of 7. This year we've had 40, which is nuts. My parents just drove down yesterday from their house, and I guess at noon yesterday, there was a big tornado that took out right next to their hospital, which is on the north side where they live of that town, just destroyed these baseball diamonds and everything, like a big sports complex. So yeah, this year's been wild. Crazy.
I don't believe in... No, I'm just kidding. I see the climate change all around me.
I believe in tornadoes.
Dude, I was so sick of living in hurricane country.
Oh, yeah.
I feel it's so nice living somewhere with no natural disasters.
You just sometimes have no water.
Yeah. Well, yeah, other than that, other than the whole trickle down water situation.
Yeah. Trickle down economic water.
Yeah, I got trickle down water system. There's no fault lines here. There are fires sometimes, but not on the scale because it's just different type of fire. And then there's no tornadoes.
Yep.
And
always good.
No
always
hurricanes. Good. Not much makes it over those mountains anyway.
Right. That's pretty good, except for the heat. You just traded all those for...
Yeah, you got to make a trade-off.
If your humidity's low, it's much better, though.
I mean, it's an average humidity of 10%.
It can be 90 degrees here, and it feels 105 or more because the humidity. I just do anything, and I'm sweating. I hate it. But I'm glad I don't live in Florida or something where the humidity stuff is nasty.
Dude, there was definitely a possibility where I ended up in Florida, and I'm just so thankful every day that I didn't.
I've not been to Florida much, but we went to Disney in August, I think, or whatever, July or August. And we were just, nope. We learned our lesson. Next time we'll try to do in between seasons or something. Standing 2 hours outside in the sun and humidity just to ride the Slinky Dog for 2 minutes. I don't know. Not my thing.
Yeah, I've done Disney because I had a cousin who worked there for a few summers. So we got the discount. And I remember it being cool, but I wasn't into roller coasters back then. And I'm pretty sure at least one of the times I went, my entire foot was swollen from poison ivy. And I had to walk around. Yeah. So you can already see why I don't have the fondest memory of it. But I remember being cool, but just it's a bit much.
I can't wait to take Jackson at some point, but I know that Adam Wathen was just do the Disney cruises. You have a home base to go back to if you want. It's not that far away. There's gym there and all kinds of different stuff to do or whatever. And it's contained. I mean, it is a massive boat, but
yeah,
it's a lot smaller in the sense of having to do all that walking around in the crazy heat.
I've never cruised. I know people who do, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
They cruise.
It becomes your identity, you know?
It really kind of does. It's interesting.
Yeah. One of these days I might have to do it, but man, at least the Disney cruise is just, how do people afford to do that? That is nuts.
Yeah. Anyway, so I guess this is a programming podcast.
Yeah. They do a lot of programming at Disney.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
They do a lot of like animatronic things. Yeah. Oh,
that's
man.
like real engineering though.
Yeah. Those jobs and like the programming stuff they do on some of that has to be super fun. I forget what ride it's called or whatever, but you're watching the screen. Like you all go in this room and you're watching the screen, but then like the screen tears apart in front of you and that's how you enter the ride.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like a mine cart thing or something.
Yeah.
If I remember right. I don't remember exactly, but I just remember that. Wait a minute. I never saw a seam or anything. And then like they programmed the door to open somehow. That's awesome. I love that kind of stuff that they do at Disney, and they go real deep into making that stuff extremely like realistic feeling. It's impressive. So when's the last time you hand wrote code as a human being? Your artisanal, handcrafted, bespoke Ruby code
with a pen and paper, or
no, like with your hands and a keyboard. Like, you don't just talk to Claude.
No, I have a lot of hot opinions about that, and I'm just not ready to like.
I'm ready to burn you down.
No, I feel like someone literally said to me the other day, like, you should bring more of these hot opinions into our meetings and to remote Ruby. And I was like, no, there's a reason I don't do that anymore. I don't talk to Claude actually much at all. I write a lot of code by hand. I write most of my code by hand. Thank you very much. I don't write most of my tests by hand, but these days I don't really write much tests anyway. So, you know.
Yeah, who needs them, right?
Yeah, who needs them? If anything, I want to delete more tests.
Oh,
I got into the whole accent character thing this week, and it's just been a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
So the browser will correctly interpret an accent character in a URL to the percent encoded version of it, right? Like,
sure. Yeah. You could buy the percent sort of encoded, like it was the emoji snowman or something.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that a long time ago.
Well, I was confused, right? Because I was like, surely this is not a valid URL. But then I go to like Namecheap and I enter in a domain name with an accented character, and they're like, yeah, just give us $10 a month and it's yours. And I'm like, wait, no. Like,
yeah.
What's happening here? And then it's sending down this massive rabbit hole of, it ended up being something we were accidentally encoding twice. And that's why that ended up being the final thing. I don't know where yet, but that's another story. But the whole thing just sent me down this rabbit hole of like, okay, I have this percent encoded string. And I put it into the browser and it resolves. And then I have this other percent encoded string, and I put that into the browser, and it doesn't resolve, even though it should, because it's just percent encoded, right? So it should just
right.
But then I have this accented character, and I put that in the browser, and it resolves. What is happening? And also, like, if you have email addresses with accented characters, like, I've started finding more and more issues with that. And
sure.
I don't understand. Why do they allow it? Why do they allow this to happen?
Let me tell you a quick story about our sponsor, Honeybadger.io. One time, a customer of theirs had a background job run overnight that caused hundreds of thousands of errors to be reported to Honeybadger by mistake. Like many other error tracking and performance monitoring tools, Honeybadger bills for monthly usage, and so this customer's mistake was going to cost them a lot of extra money that month. If you've ever used a monitoring service, you might have experienced something like this yourself. Well, fortunately for this customer, they emailed Honeybadger's support and received the most amazing reply. Honeybadger was resetting their monthly quota and canceling the bill. This is just one example of how much the small team at Honeybadger cares about their users. Ask anyone you know and you'll hear similar stories. Go check them out at honeybadger.io. It's free to get started and setup takes less than 5 minutes. don't forget to bookmark it. That's www.honeybadger.io. I got the Hacker News thread from December 23rd, 2010. That was that Unicode Snowman domain. And it is xn-n3h.net. And it just like displays the Unicode Snowman. But maybe the domain, I can't remember if like the browsers used to actually render the emoji in the URL bar or not, but it's like that xn-hyphen
that
prefix that converts. And it looks like the term is Puny code.
Yes.
Puny.
That's exactly code. What it was. Because I was trying to think about it in my brain. I was like, I literally was just looking at all this.
Yeah. Yeah, that is stuff that you like take for granted and don't really take for granted. Countertops are nice. You don't think about it usually until like you run into an issue and then you're like, oh yeah. It's so funny how much of that you use every single day. And then if nothing goes wrong, then you just forget about it completely because there's more important things to keep in mind. But yeah, there was something I had similarly a while back, but I can't remember what was going on. It was a double escape or something like that I was trying to do. It was something around Ruby and strings and writing a regex or something with trying to escape double quotes or something. I forget. It was a few weeks ago now, and I was like losing my mind because I was like, why can't I write like a matcher for this thing? And it was like, well, you got to escape it, but then you can't escape it because of whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was. Need to pull that up. It's probably in our Discord a while back, but it was making me lose my mind for a little bit.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that. It took me a non-trivial amount of time to realize that the encoded version because I was trying to figure out where this was happening, and I got the encoded version out of what I thought was creating it. But when I put that into the URL, it resolved. And it took me at least 15 to 20 minutes to realize that they weren't the same URLs that was being reported as the issue. And I was like, oh, the encoding is slightly different. I was like, I just see %, and my brain's like, all right, unimportant, skip.
Yeah, I was just doing CSS and taking an SVG and like converting that to the URL encoded version. But I was like, yeah, I forgot. Normally, I'll just drop it into my HTML. But when you do that, you got to have the data. What is it? Data plus in the format, semicolon, right. Then the URL encoded version of it. And if you use quotes for the attributes in the SVG there, you got to make sure you use the other quotes for wrapping that and stuff. Man.
Speaking of, I encountered something really interesting this week. There is a CSS display value called contents. It's a little more complicated than this, but my basic understanding of this, literally had to read the spec for it, is it like hoists the children up. So like if you had like a turbo frame, for example, that contained a list of cards, and then you're infinitely paginating, so you have another turbo frame inside of that, which has another list of cards. If you were doing like Flex or Grid or something, it's going to
sure,
you're going to have an issue
turbo frame.
Yeah, because that second turbo frame will be breaking your styling. So
yeah,
you have to handle that a certain way. But what dcontents basically allows you to do is to hoist up the children so that it almost looks like they're not even there.
Oh, that's cool.
But
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah,
we solved a really interesting problem with that when we discovered it. But here's the issue. I tried to use that in that pagination example I just gave, and it didn't work. The turbo frame never actually was hitting. I would scroll to the end of the pagination frame.
Oh, it messes
and I would
with
get the skeleton loader, but it would never actually do a network request to get the next thing because it was viewing it on like a different. Can't remember the exact. I don't know if I ever figured out the exact reason why, but it was like it treated it as like a non-block object, and thus when it scrolled into view, it just didn't do anything.
Interesting. Yeah. I just pulled up that feature on Can I Use, and it's like partial support in every browser. No support in IE. But the hilarious thing is it is green, fully supported on Safari for iOS, but nothing else is fully supported. That's super weird.
I have a whole nother iOS story too. You got me thinking about, I've been bug spelunking this week.
Let's see. This says for Chrome, Firefox, and WebKit, buttons are not accessible with display contents applied.
That's not a big enough. I'm not putting it on buttons. So
the only.
Actually, maybe I was putting it on buttons.
That looks to be the only thing. This number 2 is the only not fully supported thing. So
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what that means for accessibility. It's got links to bugs for Firefox and Chromium and WebKit. So
even figuring out what that value does took a minute. Like I had to go to the literal like spec because like in the end, like it kind of explained it just was confusing. And I was like, I need to, because I think it's mostly used for SVGs. That's why I thought of it when you brought up SVGs, because you can hoist basically up the elements.
They're replaced by their pseudo box and their child boxes. This is one of those things where like the complexity of building a browser is just gotta be so nuts. And the amount of little edge cases that something like this solves a real problem, as you see. But yet, how do you do that? Implementing every edge case and doing it without breaking other things and whatever is just wild. That is crazy.
Well, I have a hard enough time not breaking the code I wrote last week.
Right. You just made Claude do it and you said, yes, accept all changes.
Not me. I didn't do that, but yeah, someone did.
I didn't force push.
You're not gonna bait me into this conversation. I swear to God. All right, let's talk about Safari. It said, you know how you like have tooltips for like accessibility and stuff. So in our text editor, when you hover over like the bold formatting option, we use TipTap. And so we have like a really nice rich text editing experience.
The richest text.
The richest, dude. We're talking like king rich here. So you have like these accessibility features, like these tooltips, like you hover over the bold icon and like it's like, hey, this is bold. So the problem is that on mobile browsers, or maybe just touch browsers in general, specifically mobile Safari, if you have a hover on an element on a button, and you also have whatever happens when you click the button, what will happen first is it'll trigger the hover.
Yeah, right.
And then it will trigger the action. So it looked like the code wasn't working because it's like when I click this button, it doesn't bold my text.
And it's like, a toggle.
You have to click it twice because the first one triggers the hover and the second one triggers the actual action. And I was like, this is one of those little things where you got to be real careful.
Yeah. All those edge cases are crazy. The amount of things that you have to deal with on that too is wild. Like I remember when Tricks came out, I think it was Javon or Sam had posted a screenshot of the Chromium source code. And it was like, they have built into Chromium a workaround to make some bug fixed for the Tricks editor. And he was like,
I remember that,
proud to have like gotten something that important that the browser has a custom fix for it or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's stuff like that that's crazy. The amount of time to do it all properly and fully accessible and whatever is really tough. And there's a lot of people making their component frameworks and stuff right now, but like not putting time into accessibility and whatnot. And that is not what you want. At the end of the day, that'll be something that would be awesome to actually have solved. Because like, I don't need just a component framework for your pretty styles. You want the React experience to grab this widget so that you have full keyboard and mouse, left to right, all of the accessibility options done for you. Because the design's actually not the hard part these days. That's the easy part. But loading effects and other animations and mobile compatibility and everything, that's where all the actual work goes in. And most people just kind of skip that because it's tough. It's a lot of work. One of the reasons why like React is so popular because you can kind of grab a library that someone did put all the effort into for that component. You guys use TipTap, obviously familiar with tricks. Have you looked at this lexical that Jorge's using as the foundation for the upcoming? It's not probably, I don't know if it'll still be called HouseMD, but the new editor that 37 Signals has been working on. It's based on this lexical framework that it's from Facebook.
No, I have not heard of that.
I didn't know anything about it until you mentioned it. It had never crossed my path, but it looks awesome. You have highlight a word and there's a little pop over that shows bold and strike through and superscript, subscript, uppercase, lowercase, like all kinds of stuff. And then also you have the bar of right align, left align, all the like typical things, linking and whatever else that you think of. But it seems extremely modular and like is able to export to Markdown and go back and forth to HTML. And it looks pretty darn good. So it looks like we're going to have a really cool foundation for the next editor. And it's also, Lexical is available as a JavaScript framework for use in web browsers, as well as a Swift framework for native iOS development. That's good. Fascinating that Android is not listed there, but maybe that's coming. I don't know.
I don't text people with green text anyway. I'm just kidding. I know that's going to piss someone off.
What happens when a developer decides to record his own podcast ad? Let's find out. I'm Adam from JudoScale, and at JudoScale, there's no marketing team, no salespeople, and no customer support. I mean, we do have customer support, but it's just us, the developers. That's why our support is top notch. Anyway, we're JudoScale. We're the autoscaler that actually works. We do it better than anyone else by tracking the right metrics and checking those metrics more frequently. And we wrap it all in a beautiful UI with powerful and intuitive controls. We work with hosting platforms like Heroku, Render, and Amazon ECS to gracefully handle your traffic spikes and backed up job queues. If you want that peace of mind and a much lower hosting bill, you should check us out. Visit judoscale.com/remote Ruby for your special gift as a remote Ruby listener. That's judoscale.com/remote Ruby.
You know what's funny is, okay, this comes from Facebook. So where is the Android version of it? They got to have support for, what are they building this to use in if they're not going to have Android support? Or at least not yet. Maybe it's not ready, but it seems for a company that size, like, of course they need the Android version too. So I'm curious about that. But yeah, it follows all the accessibility practices and stuff, screen readers. It is going to be a really good one, it looks like. And there's a big API, so you can do your tables and what other things you've been like ready to use. Big reason why people have moved to TipTap for stuff in the meantime.
Yeah.
How's TipTap been to extend?
Our implementation is like pretty good, I would say. We're always finding ways to improve upon it.
Do you save it to JSON, the output?
Yes.
Because then you can write your like, their structure and the JSON's like pretty easy to like go back to HTML.
Like
I use
TipTap's based on like nodes.
JS. I think I used editor.js, which is very similar in concept. It was like a block editor or whatever. I don't think it's as popular anymore. TipTap's really gotten a lot of attention. But
it's pretty good. It's complicated sometimes, but at the same time, it's not that bad. I am not by any means like an expert JavaScript developer, and I have apparently become one of the 2 TipTap guys at work because I've been seeing a lot of TipTap work come my way recently. So if anyone from work is listening to this, please stop that. No, I'm kidding. I've enjoyed it. It's one of those things where it's like really kind of fun to work with because it's like a really rewarding experience. Like I care about the way text editors work on the web. I like block editing, like the whole concept of it. I love trying like those note-taking apps like Craft and like Notion and like all these other things. So I think having like a really great writing experience is important, especially for an app like Podia, where a lot of it is focused on user content. It's all based on content and text and like, you know, expression. So I think it's really important to be able to like have these rich text editing experiences. And I'm pretty proud of ours. I think it's pretty sick.
It's good. Yeah. And it takes a lot of time and effort. There's so many cool things too. Like you build that into Podia and you have components for different features where you're like, here, just print out all my courses here. Give me an email sign up form. And there are things that you can embed then with your block editor that are to the user kind of magic because they don't have to think about, I got to generate a form with labels and form fields and a URL it submits to and a button with a submission disable. All of that is stuff that you guys program. But then to the user, / command, and then boom, I drop in the email subscribe form and like now my website has that. And it's awesome to be able to give people the tools to do that because then you've got the layout stuff where you're like, actually, I just want that on the left side in this sidebar column, and they don't have to worry about any of it because you've got the CSS being responsive for every block that you like give them access to and whatever. It's cool. But then the more that we get into building software, like hopefully that's also the same thing we get to do as developers where it's like, Claude, generate that for me.
Bro, I'm
gonna get you to talk about it one of these times.
What's also cool about it is we are also able to like provide these experiences where you sometimes can use placeholders for like in emails, like you can use placeholders for people's names. Like that's built into the rich text experience. You have places where things are like dynamic and you can insert iframes. And if anyone's ever done anything with iframes, you know it's a non-trivial thing. So it's a rewarding experience. It's not the most simple thing in the world, but you get what you put into it, really. That's what I see it as.
It may not be simple for you to build, but it ends up being simple for somebody to use. And that's the big win. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And those things, as time goes on, it gets more and more frustrating that you're like, it's that much effort for us to go build something like that. And that's where a lot of the good libraries and other new ways of building products and whatever end up evolving into abstractions and stuff. But dude, I just saw on my terminal 19 days to RailsConf. I forget. It just changed 70 something to Rails World.
Dude, I got stuff to do. I'm also going to be on sabbatical. I end my sabbatical at Rails World.
Nice.
So,
and you just start your vacation.
Yeah. You understand.
Yeah.
I just feel like this year has been flying by and I've not been focusing on the right things.
It has been flying. And I feel the same. There's so much to do, so much changes all the time, and easy to get distracted with whatever. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We have way too many projects going on. My big distraction is like getting a support ticket. Like I gotta jump from whatever I'm coding or whatever, screencasting, whatever I'm doing. And then like, okay, let me go answer that support ticket real fast. And the less of those, the more productive I am. But there's just some days where it's like every hour, somebody's asking a question about something or other. And I just feel like I get nothing done. So I'm looking forward to, I think things are slowing down a bit and just putting my head down, working on some stuff.
It's been one of them years. It was one of those years where I was like, this year I'm going to buckle down. And here we are midway through the year. And it's like, damn it.
I'm still trying to find the seatbelt.
Yeah. But yeah, we move. Did you work on anything this week?
Yeah, I've been playing with a new little product thing. The Heroku fiasco that happened last week. That was last week, wasn't it? I feel like time's been flying so fast.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was last week or the week before.
I think it was last week.
Our one app that we have on Heroku was down, and that 1 month site, I talked about this in the past, but like it's an old Rails 5 app. We have all these customers from that previous business, and I like want a clean break from it anyways. So I don't want to just like inherit all these customers. That's like all these people from a previous Stripe account too that we're not going to use and whatever. So I think we're going to like try to finish up a brand new Rails app and just build a couple of courses, and we have the old content, but it's kind of old. Some of it isn't really any different now. Like there was a programming for non-programmers course, and it's like, well, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't need to be updated for 2025, conceptually at least. So there may be some of those courses that like we put back up, but like I also don't want that to be confusing for people who may have visited the site last week and then next week it's a totally different site, but the same courses, and now my account doesn't work anymore and whatever. So I think I'm going to try to just relaunch it sort of from scratch and maybe like re-record some of that. The hype of all like the boot camps and things are all gone, but people still want that kind of content. So I'm like, if we could put together a few courses that were quick for us to do, that wouldn't be a bad thing to do. So we're definitely planning to like put 1 month Ruby and 1 month Rails courses up, and probably those will be the quickest for us to do. But it's like not that much fun because they're very beginner. One of the courses was literally programming for non-programmers. Like,
right,
you got to teach them variables and classes and modules and recursion and whatever, ideally. And it's like, yeah, that's not terribly fun for me these days. So maybe that'll be something that we bring somebody in or Colin does or something. Every time I think about sitting down to record that, I'm like, I haven't been a beginner for so long. I don't even remember some of the questions that I asked back then when I wrote that QBasic Hangman game. Like, I didn't know you could reuse a variable. There is a lot of things that I've forgotten from back in those days, that you didn't know how loops worked, or big O notation didn't really matter, but conceptualizing the idea that like, okay, if you have a loop within a loop, then that is going to be significantly slower than just a single loop, and wrapping your head around those sort of computer science basics would be cool to have in the course, but I don't know that I want to do that myself.
You don't want to do big O note computation, bro? God, I remember the exact class I sat in when I was doing that crap in college.
Me too. Unfortunately, that wasn't taught in a productive manner where it was like very academic, and it was like, just, you have to memorize this stuff. And if we're going to do that, what I want to do is give you something practical. Like, let's go do some simple algorithm that makes sense, where we're like, we got to do something, and let's do it the way that we kind of default to thinking about it. But then we realize like, oh, we could refactor this and it could be like big O n instead of n squared or whatever. Like, that would be really useful to teach instead. I guess if anybody's interested or whatever, hit me up, chris@gorails.com if you want to brainstorm that, or maybe put a course together like that. I think that stuff still needs to exist, but everybody's kind of abandoned doing that work because they're like, well, we can't just make $1 billion building our boot camp anymore. Yeah, but we still need that content. We still need to help people learn these things. Whatever you're doing as a computer science student these days, like, it's going to be that much harder because you're going to have AI try to explain it to you. And you're going to have to do some of that stuff still yourself manually to really grasp it. And then past that, once you grasp it, fine, use the tools, whatever. But it's the same thing as like writing Ruby without really understanding how memory allocation works or whatever. Like, Ruby's all written in C, and so those details make a big difference to the Ruby code you write. So when you're in production and you query user.all and you're like, well, why is this slow? You need to be able to understand that you allocated 50,000 users into memory in Ruby. Even though SQL could give you 50,000 records back real fast, Ruby is like, oh, hold on a second, I got a lot of work to do real quick. And that's the stuff I think these beginners are going to have such a hard time dealing with. So I forget what else I've been working on this week. Is we've had this like support tool we built a long time ago for Hatchbox and stuff, and had a few iterations on that. Started another iteration on it. I think this will be the one we actually have talked about, like taking that and turning it into a product at some point that other indie hackers, jumpstart customers, anybody who's wanting to build their own product and needs support and knowledge base and feedback, testimonials and whatnot. I think I'm finally going to put the time into building that and make it available to other people to use. Because we always do occasionally get messages from people that are like, hey, what is this tool you're using here for support? Can I use that? And so I think it's time. I think it is time to build that.
All right. Sounds good. I think that content's still pretty important to have. But I totally agree with you. Like, I wouldn't necessarily be super jazzed about making it myself. It's like,
yeah, the 1 month stuff is interesting because, like, in theory, we could branch out into literally any topic like plumbing and HVAC and whatever. That is a massive undertaking, but like, it's fascinating too because Peepcode got acquired by Pluralsight, and Pluralsight and LinkedIn Learning are these massive, massive businesses that big enterprises buy and then give as education stuff to their employees and whatever. In theory, there's like a long-term play that could be done there or whatever, but it's hard. You got to have the drive to like push that for as long as you're going to have to push that. The education space used to be hot back in 2013 or 14 or whatever, 2012. It was a long time ago, and that's not cool anymore. It's probably too little too late kind of thing. But I'm like, it gets traffic. This is one of the things that I really love about Peter Askew bought VidaliaOnions.com and then now sells freaking Vidalia onions on the internet and does a good business out of it. And like, I always found that interesting. It's like, you can acquire these expiring domains. Like, this didn't make it to the expiration point, but they shut down the business and it was going to expire at some point. And so it's a good thing to like grab that. It's got some traffic. If the audience that is coming there is the right group that you could sell something to, then like, cool. We could put together, say, 5 courses, toss it up on 1 month, and then just make a few $1,000 a month with doing pretty little effort post creating and producing those courses and launching them. So I kind of hope that works out. I like that as an experiment. So I think what I'm going to do is pick up my camera and just sort of document that week to week. If anybody's interested in that, like, send me a message. Because
vlog it.
Yeah, I watch some guys that make video games. Like Thin Matrix makes a handful of little farming games and stuff. And he posts every week on, or roughly every week on YouTube about, yeah, I'm building these features today and we're watering plants and like, this is tedious. So now we're going to build new feature that you can buy to automatically water the plants and whatever. And it's like, I've always been blown away by like the Balatro developer and Stardew Valley and just these like people who've been successful building stuff by themselves. And you know what? This could be a cool thing. I wish I had documented my days back in the beginning of Go Rails and whatever. So, and if we did like a 1 month startup course or something, it could be like, well, here's what we did for 1 month itself. That could be fun. A little meta course there. But
yeah, I want to see Go Rails vlogs, like you at conference with
vlogs.
like with the tripod out, like at the selfie stick. That's what we need.
Got my camera right here.
That's what we need.
Well, we've got 19 days or whatever it is. I can do it at RailsConf,
dude.
On
Don't
stage.
Say that I've got stuff to do. Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Brooke was just asking about, she's volunteering for the registration desk and what she had to do to get ready for that or whatever. So
I did that my first year.
If you want to go to a conference and you can volunteer and help out, it's just a forcing function for you to like get really acquainted with people in the community super fast. Like, it's one of the best things you could do. Don't do it just for a free ticket or whatever. Do it for the like forced introductions to all kinds of people in the conference. Then you're part of it. You're not just like some random awkward person that doesn't know who to talk to or whatever. You're like,
why'd you just call me out like that?
Dude, that's how I was for so many years.
Still the random awkward person that doesn't know who to talk to. Well, I follow you and Jason around like a puppy.
Well, now you're a little celebrity because of the podcast, or at least your voice is.
Jason called me Chris's cameraman in a meeting the other day, and I didn't like that.
Oh, that's good. I like it. I will hand you my camera.
Is that what my real calling is, to be a cameraman for Chris?
This will be a real... You know how awkward it has to be for YouTubers in public?
Dude, I could never.
We got to do it.
I don't even like taking pictures in public, dude. Oh my God. Like, shout out to those people. I get cringe watching it. I can't even take a picture, dude, in public without feeling cringy. I gotta like wait till like no one's looking, and then I'll take like a picture of myself.
Boom. We're gonna just paparazzi you.
That's my
what
worst
it's gonna
nightmare. Yeah, but then I'll yell, "There's Chris Oliver," and then my problem will be solved.
And then all the screaming.
Hey guys, it's the Go Rails guy. I'm excited for RailsConf.
Yeah, dude. Me too. I'm ready to go have a significant amount of Philly cheesesteaks. I got a Blackstone for Father's Day, and one of the first things we made was cheesesteaks for the family. It was good. Although I wasn't ready to manage, like, how many do we make? Like 9 cheesesteaks all at once. And this is too much. Like, the heat's too high. This one's done. That one's done too. Grab me plates and buns and whatever. So I'm not ready to work in a kitchen yet, but yeah, getting there.
I have that problem as well. The more I cook, the more I'm like, okay, I know this is going to take this amount of time to start boiling, and then it's got to take this amount of time to cook, and then I got to put it then while this is cooking, and like I try to like stagger it, and I just never get it right, dude. It's always I'm literally like trying to like put the noodles underwater with one hand and like stir the pot with the other. Like it turns into basically how I code in life. I have multiple things spinning. I got all these plates up in the air, and I'm not sure which one's got the priority, so I've got to hold on to both. And something's on fire.
Yeah. That's exactly how I felt making all those at once. The onions are done. The mushrooms are done. No, wait, this is too cooked. The mistake I made was I took the Blackstone downstairs and didn't put it on the deck. Then added running upstairs to the kitchen and back down. And then, I forgot paper towels. Got to run back up there and back down. And I was like, all right, we're moving this up to the deck to sit right next to the door.
Yeah, gots to.
The amount of stuff I was running up and down the stairs without tripping and dropping it all. It was just a matter of time until I ruined dinner because the one time I trip is with all the cooked food.
Yeah. Classic. I've
like,
all
right, guys,
before.
I guess we're getting Domino's for dinner.
Yeah. This happened to me literally recently, and I don't remember what it was, but I just spent all this time cooking something, and I tripped. And it just all splattered across the floor. And I just kind of like looked at the floor, and I like looked up into the sky, and I was like sank to my knees.
I just imagine
like, why
The Office with the big pot of chili.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, basically, it was one of those moments where you're like, as a human, I feel like I need to just cry right now.
That's how my pull requests feel sometimes.
Yeah. I've been there, brother. All right. Slaps me.
This is one of those Thursdays, huh?
We've been having a lot of those Thursdays recently.
We have. Well, we got 3 weeks. We will be in Philly.
Yep.
And we'll have lots to talk about then after that.
Especially after we skateboard down the street. Ripsticking, because I'll get my ripstick from Drew.
Oh, yeah, right.
This time, you and Jason can take me to the hospital.
Yeah. Colin was sending me the trucks and wheels and bearings and everything to order because I was telling him, like, Jackson's almost 3. Because my parents got me that Walmart skateboard that did not roll. Those wheels did not spin, which was really dangerous. And I was like, we're getting Jackson a decent skateboard so he can at least learn to balance when he's young and stuff. So I need to order that when you were speaking of skateboards.
Dude, ripsticking now. I'll get him on the ripstick. You get him on the skateboard, I'll get him on the ripstick. Ripsticks are death trap, dude.
Are they? I've never ridden one.
You have the same problem on a skateboard, but it's even more like of an issue on a ripstick where like a bump, a crack, a tiny little like stick, you hit pavement that's just slightly elevated the wrong way, and you and the board will stop moving at the same momentum. Like you will experience like a physics moment where you and the board are traveling the same speed, and then suddenly the board isn't not only not traveling the same speed, it's not traveling the same direction, and thus continue on your current trajectory. Oh man, I don't think my knees can get more scarred, like just from tearing it up on bike and ripstick and scooters and skateboards, and I've broken arms doing it. Yeah, I've taken quite abuse from these things, but I love it.
Well, we can probably find some bubble wrap and just like wrap you up in it, you know, when we go to lunch and you ride that thing and you're just like bouncing off people and street poles and stuff.
Nollie tray flip it on the ripstick, dude.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, I'm going to the X Games if I can do that.
All right. You're committed now.
I'm committed now, but I'm not wearing a helmet either. I'm committed to that.
All right.
Freedom, baby. I don't even own a helmet, Chris.
You're just like Travis Pastrana.
I don't know who that is.
Of the Rails world. You don't know who Travis Pastrana is?
I might, but...
He's like the Nitro Circus guy.
Nah.
Oh my God. Well, we'll get you a Nitro Circus.
All right. Good. Don't forget the dirt bike.
Yeah, that's their big things. Dirt bike stunts and stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Cool. Good luck with all that.
Yeah, thanks. My insurance company's like, write that down.